Welcome back to 365 Unlimited. We are back with another episode. As you've seen on social media, our website merchandise has officially dropped. It's been a long time coming, a lot of meetings with the team, and we even put our team out there on social media for you guys to see as well, trying to do more things in a professional manner. But please, please, please share the merch, check out the merch, represent the brand, and do it proudly and share and tag us in absolutely everything once your merchandise arrives. But tonight we got another one for you guys with Carter, Gannon, myself in the building. Fact or Cap edition. Here we go again. Let's rock, Gannon.
First one. This was my headline from this last weekend, so this was one of the first ones when I was thinking of some today sitting in the office. Will Levis, is he the future of the Tennessee Titans or not? Fact or Cap, baby? Let's go. Who's taking it first?
I mean, I'll go right away. I think right now it's an obvious one game
Yeah,
in.
no, but I'm saying postseason. Like we get all the way to the end of the season, he's QB1 moving
Based
forward.
on based on trajectory wise, what we
Based
think he
on
could
week
do.
one, this is way too early. We're just
Yeah.
starting off.
All
A
right,
little
fact.
icebreaker.
Fact.
But
It's a fact. And the reason I'm going to say it's a fact is because Ryan Tannehill's not your guy anymore. Uh what's the other quarterback's name? I'm already
Malik
tripping.
Willis, that's
Malik
not
Willis.
happening.
I don't know what it is, but I like to say Malik Davis because the running back that used to play for the Cowboys, but
I mean, he's
Malik
pretty much a
Willis.
half. He's literally just a running back half the time when they want to go
Yeah,
something. But
Malik Willis is not the guy there. So Will Levis, that leaves one guy. So I think that's part of the reason why I have to sit there and say fact immediately in my head because there's no one else to turn to. Now, do I think that they possibly could bring a veteran in if Tannehill and Malik Willis aren't there
yeah,
anymore? Yeah, that's a possibility. But what I saw in his first game was just his ability to go out there in his first game and not think at all, just do. His ability to be poised in the pocket, his arm is natural. The deep threat ability is obviously clear cut. The accuracy was good. I think if you're just being nitpicky at all, I mean, you could have seen uh, just maybe him going through his reads and progressing through a little bit more the shallow to the intermediate to the deep. Obviously, what we saw with him was deep balls. It was, and that's going to be the biggest thing. What we see from him this week is he able to progress from three deep balls to D hop and kind of transform into a quarterback who's not always going to have that deep ball. We know that not every week D Hop is going to be open for three deep touchdowns, right? Like
yeah,
that's not it's not the reality of football. So I think this is going to be a major test this week. What type of quarterback we see, but based on his natural talent and the way that he came out and didn't think, I truly think that this could be the guy for the Tennessee Titans. Uh, I think sometimes your best football players are your guys that just don't think and naturally do. I know back when I played the game, even at just the high school level, you sit there and when you're playing the game and you're not going through incredible thought process, not thinking too much, not over analyzing, and just simply playing the game,
yeah.
you kind of play better. And Will Levis did that. What you think, Carter?
I think that's fact. I mean, it's always going to be a little bit of an overreaction, I think, when
Yeah.
someone comes out and throws four touchdowns in a game. Um, but I mean, what Tannehill's only thrown two this whole year.
Tannehill's done.
I
I mean,
mean,
Tannehill's
and I
done.
think with them being able to throw the ball, like if he is the guy, like that's going to open a lot for Derrick Henry. When you play
No,
the Titans, like
Yeah.
it stopped Derrick Henry number one.
yeah,
Like that's why Derrick Henry, I mean, he can't get anything nowadays. I mean, I know he's getting old and everything, but I think people have figured it out, especially with Tennessee. They just offensively are like illiterate. I mean, they have nobody really.
yeah,
Yeah, you
And
just
D
look.
Hop, you can now you see with a probably one of the best ever in DeAndre Hopkins. I mean,
Yeah.
you I would take him on the Bears, bro. I mean, the way he just airs, you can tell he just has like this confidence. And it's almost like he doesn't give a crap. It's
That's what
just
I'm
like I'm just
saying.
gonna
Yeah.
go out
yeah,
there and throw the crap out of the ball,
Yeah.
which Fields doesn't have that. You know what I mean? So that's just
yeah.
I like seeing him do that and just coming out and slinging it.
Yeah.
So I mean, for now, I think they ride with him. I mean, why wouldn't you at this point? I mean, you just drafted him second round. I mean, you could look up. 3 years from now and be like, this guy was a steal of the draft.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't know. But based off how he played, I mean, I definitely think they need to ride with him moving forward.
Do you guys
Yeah,
think he'll turn
that's
into
what.
like a number one pick? Like teams will start to look back and be like, this guy should have went earlier. Like, do you think that'll happen? I
Well,
know
I
we're talking
think
if he's gonna
it's
be QB
yeah,
one, but
I think it's the physical tools were never the issue with him. Like even dating back when he was a high recruit
yeah.
behind what's his name at Penn State with I think Clifford, and I don't know if he was even there with McSorley. I think that was before his time. But the arm strength was there. And then when he transferred to Kentucky, he was able to put it on display before they ran some injuries down in the SEC there. But I just wasn't sure if he's going to be able to take that next jump moving to the NFL, like just everything else involved, not being able to, just physically rely on your arm and your legs at times, which you can do with the college game. It's right now, I'm saying fact. And also with them being 3-4, there's a lot worse teams in the NFL right now that have already worse records draft pick wise. You're not going to get a dude, I think, in this year's draft. So that plays into it. Keeping Derrick Henry. You got D Hop for another year with a contract. If this chemistry can kind of take off even more, I think it's a good little stepping stone into having a wide receiver. And if Traylon Burks can, maybe stay on the field ever at some point, there could get somebody else working in that direction. But yeah, I think it's fact in my opinion. At the end of the day, it's a good vibe. One of my assistant coaches down here in Florida is a Tennessee fan for pretty much every single sport, and his mood changed a whole lot coming from last week into the office till this week, just with Will Levis off 1 week. So I think it's kind of a cool little performance on that aspect. But let's move forward. I want to switch it up here. This is a topic that I've run down a lot in my head probably since the start of the football season. Factor cap. Bill Belichick will be the head coach of the Patriots next year.
That's interesting. And just so our audience does know when you tap into this, Gannon came up with these. Carter and I have no clue what these are. So yeah, you're gonna get some live reactions where we're a little stumped and wondering.
I'll say my thing at the end to wrap it up, but I just want to say, like, I was gonna have a couple weeks ago when we were talking about doing this and some of this, I was gonna say mid-season fire, but I think this win, some of the other stuff that's transpired since then has maybe changed a little bit of that, and I don't think out of respect to him and his career, they were going to do that anyway. But that was a topic being tossed around early on in the season. But I kind of just pushed it back till next
I think it's Cap. I think he's back in New England. I don't see a world where Bill Belichick will coach football anywhere else until he retires. And I think my main focus.
Yeah, I don't mean retire. I'm talking getting out pretty much.
And that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And first off, I think my first initial reason is the Patriots are a horrible football team. There's not a whole lot of talent there outside of you got your Matthew Judon, you got your Ramondre Stevenson, you got your double tight end and Gesicki, Hunter Henry. I know at the beginning of the year, Gannon, I listed the Patriots as one of my sleeper teams, and there is like slight underrated talent there. There hasn't been guys that have stuck out and taken a leap in that system like a Juju. Yeah, like a Juju Smith-Schuster. It seems like his career in New England is gone there to die.
And I don't think Mac Jones is that great either. I know his first what year was they had Patricia's OC, and they said that was a lot to do with it, which I could maybe see that.
I don't know. Matt Patricia is interesting because at one point his career was a DC.
You're
and then
seeing more and more of these people under Belichick on this coaching tree fail when they leave New England.
Look at Josh McDaniels.
Now they're not even having success in New England now. Like nobody is. Nobody's having success now under the Belichick tree. Like I don't think Robert Kraft's happy. I think he's pissed with all this. Like there's no way he wants to sit winning, especially if Tom Brady stays in there and does something with the front office there. I think there's some leeway and stuff there that this might not be working, and it hasn't.
Well, I'll tell you what though. I really think coaching, Gannon, you know this as well. Coaching is a relationship based thing. Now, for the professional league, it's a little bit different, but you could talk about it from your grad assistant level. And me being a high school football coach, it is relationship based to the point where when we have relationships, we probably stick around a little bit longer than we should.
100%.
And that's Robert Kraft. If Robert Kraft has a good relationship with Bill Belichick, he's not going to just kick him out on the street and say, hey, you're done. And he's been there for so long and done so much with that organization that I'm not gonna say that they're just gonna kick him to the curb. And another thing to think about, guys, where's the replacement? I know that within the NFL, when the end of the season rolls around, we see a ton of coaches get canned. We see a ton of up and coming college guys come take NFL gigs. Uh, but the funniest part about the whole head coaching system, and I have 2 points with this. When it comes to the NFL, fired coaches get hired at head coaching positions practically immediately once they get fired. And some of them will take lower positions like
Yeah, they
offensive
usually
coordinator,
at least go
defensive coordinator.
for a year.
Typically, yes, but then they get
Then they go back, yeah.
right back on the wagon. And that is interesting to me because more often than not, when a good player, I mean, it's similar to players in the sense when they get cut from a team, they get picked up to another team. And sometimes it is systematic. But that's the thing with the players that separates it is with players it's systematic. It's what type of formations you're running, what works for that player, what they thrive in. When it comes to a coach, they take their system to the next team they go to. They remain the same coach unless they evolve, unless they get better and learn from their mistakes. More often than not a lot of coaches do because that's who they are. It's part of their natural mentality. And something I thought was interesting is Micah Parsons went on and was talking about head coaches across the NFL and just how their contracts are guaranteed. Like Josh McDaniels got canned from the Raiders this week, and he gets all of his money. Where should the line be drawn in that system where McDaniels is getting all of his money, but if a player on the Raiders got cut tomorrow, he ain't seeing all that guaranteed money, and that's an issue I have. So that's just kind of relevant, I guess, within the head coaching cycle. But no, I don't think Belichick's going anywhere.
I don't think so either. I mean, I think you do see now. I mean, no one. This isn't a knock at Belichick because he's a legend, but like maybe that just shows you how good Tom Brady really was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that has to play a part.
I think it's also the nuance of the league changes too.
Yeah, he's in a different era. It's a different era.
I think it's way different.
100%.
But if Brady was there, bro,
I don't know, man. That's a whole different argument.
That's a whole. That would be real fun right now to see their type of offense and their scheming with a little bit of because you've seen people go out with other people now. Obviously, it's Jimmy Garoppolo running stuff and Oakland.
How many? Let me ask you this: how many Tom Brady like quarterbacks are in the league anymore? There isn't any. There is. It's not that league anymore. There's no Brady's. There's no Ben Roethlisberger. There's no Romos. There's no pocket. Like
I wouldn't
sit
put
in the
Romo
pocket.
in the same conversation.
I'm talking about
guys.
quarterback prototype.
Guys.
You just had to throw
a
Romo
gunslinger type guy that's just throwing
but
it.
I'm not.
I mean, Herbert's that point at some points, but he can still run. That's the thing.
It's just
you got people that have
guys.
the arm talent and some of that. Like even Josh Allen throws the ball like Brett Favre at times.
Goff still moves. Goff's capable to move. Goff can actually surprisingly move pretty well.
He can, but he doesn't. I mean, he's a pocket.
But you knew damn well going into the game, you didn't have to game plan for Tom Brady running on you.
And Burrow doesn't move, bro.
Yeah,
Burrow can though. I mean,
but with all of his injuries.
Yeah, I get the injury, but what I'm saying is the offenses have changed so much. I forget where I read it from, but Josh McDaniels, they were like, there's like player leaks going on talking about like that McDaniels is running a system from like 2016, 2018.
And that was that's my biggest point out of all this of like result stuff of like not even the factor cap so much on Belichick, but like that his magic and his type of excellence is wearing out because Josh McDaniels, you look over there, there's stuff coming out. He lost the locker room. That's why the change was done right now. They had to cut it off with Antonio Pierce coming in and riding the ship with these guys. And then Bill O'Brien, the way stuff was handled in Houston with stuff there with Deshaun Watson and just all the different moves on that side. But Bill Belichick's known for the relationship building.
But I mean, I'll say this too, is you look at the quarterbacks have changed as far as they all can move now. But you realize if you look at like Mahomes and Josh Allen now, they don't move anymore like as much as they used to.
No, why? Dude, but it has
because
nothing...
you can't. No, that does play a part. You can't be a run dominating quarterback. You can't in the league.
but that's not even what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Tom Brady could never run an RPO offense.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow,
the whole league's completely different.
But you don't need
to run that. You don't in today's league more often than not to score points against today's NFL defenses are insanely better than what they have been in the past. Like they are running schematics and different base formations and covering offenses completely different than they have in the past. The game evolves every year, each and every year, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like Tom Brady would still be a great quarterback and the quarterback that he is 100%. But defenses at this day and age, and yes, Brady's older, and it's not like he's been out the league for more than a year. I get that. But I'm just trying to say, like, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, shoot, even Jared Goff, them guys can play the run pass offense. They can play the option offense because it's not about running triple option like you see at the college level back 5-6 years ago. And this is what I said this to Gannon the other day. People need to understand in today's offenses, there is no such thing really as running like a run first play anymore. There are every single play when you're running the football has a pass off of it. Like every formation that you're running, you can throw the football out of the run that you have called at the line of scrimmage. And the amount of checking, pre-snap stuff that quarterbacks are doing in today's league, it's different. And I don't know if Belichick is accustomed to a league that's evolved this much. I'm not taking away his greatness. He's one of the best of all time. 1,000%.
Wrapping that up, and I'm saying Cap, he will not be on the sidelines next year. There'll be a move made in the offseason.
So you're saying fact, not Cap.
Oh, yeah. No, I was saying it's Cap that Bill Belichick will be the pass coach next year is what I said. I said it's Cap.
So did Carter and I say Cap? Because I think we meant to say fact.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever the way you said it, you guys are saying he's going to be back. I'm saying he's not going to be back. But let's switch gears now. I want to get to the Michigan scandal with all the sign stealing stuff. I know there's been a lot of stuff in the headlines. I want to talk to this. Will Michigan be banned from the college football playoff coming up in January if they're still ranked, win out, whatever, if they get to their games? Fact or Cap? Because I got this is an interesting story because I didn't believe a lot of this that was coming out. And if you guys have followed this story, the viewers turning in, there's a lot of new stuff, bit by bit, day by day. There's so much stuff that's coming out of this situation, and it's interesting. And people are like, well, they're only paying attention to this because they're winning. Well, it's also might be a helping reason to why they might be winning more. But I just want to get your guys' opinion to this. But fact or Cap?
That's Cap.
What?
That's Cap. I think
that they'll be banned. You don't think there'll be suspensions?
No. You look at Michigan, bro. I don't condone what they're doing, but they got a really good team. Like their quarterback is like number one in the Heisman race now. I don't think that's going to. I mean, that would be insane. I don't think that's ever happened. I know.
But you've never also seen the sign stealing happening right now in this college game, especially.
I mean, you've seen it though in the MLB.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, but this is so different. This guy's been in both offensive and defensive coordinators' ears during the game talking about play calling from the other side with posters and signage. And a whole nother segue, I think, is there needs to be the NFL adoption system here with the mics and quarterbacks' heads and play calls being called in with all this. So all this can be avoided, in my opinion. That's a whole nother discussion with this topic.
But I think cheating is cheating, however you look at it. And the Patriots, they were recording, what was it, the Jets?
Well, yeah, Spygate and then the Deflategate with
Spygate, the Deflategate. Does it really matter? Like, take the Astros just for an example. I'm not a baseball guy, but have they not been to the World Series like 6 years?
Yeah, but it's completely different because I get your argument. I get your argument, the outside of all this, but the sport specific stuff, it's not the same as the ball being a little bit heavier, a little bit lighter, in my opinion.
But no, I'm not even. Don't even take the Deflategate.
Yeah,
take them recording another team's practice, or take the Astros. They were doing basically what Michigan's doing. They were stealing.
But signs. The Patriots. You think Patriots had a guy? Patriots didn't have guys going in disguise, possibly. Hypothetically, here.
I think when
that's nuts, man. That the guy doesn't even. There's not even accounted for on the Central Michigan staff. Like this coaches, they literally don't have a pass for this guy. They don't know how he got on their sidelines wearing gear. Like
I think so. First off, when it comes to stealing signs, when it comes to simply over scouting a team and doing it a little bit illegally, honestly, to keep it blunt, I don't care. And the stuff that's going on with Michigan, yes, there is stuff involved within it that is wrong, and it is cheating the game. Yes, 1,000%. But to take something from like what Coach Prime said the other day, and he's got a damn good fair point. at the end of the day, you can know what a team is going to run. You got to stop it. And there's this major difference between football and baseball in this situation because with the Astros, them banging the trash cans, whether it's a curveball, whether it's a fastball. Gannon, you and I both know this. When it comes to playing baseball, if you know a curveball's coming, you're going to be a damn good hitter.
Even if you can eliminate one pitch that's not coming.
You had a
So how is
massive.
that not the same?
It's not the same at all because football, dude, I'm telling you, football, you get the film, you know their base formations, you know their scheme.
It's different if you have direct play calling coming from their signs on the field. That's a whole different thing. That's way different. That's why this is different. That's why you could say, I agree with everything you're saying, but all these things are heightened and are way more different with this Michigan example, in my opinion, if these details come out to be true. Like this guy's nuts. What's his name? Connor Stallions.
Yeah, well,
so but Harbaugh, is he back yet?
Yeah, no, that's suspension. That was a different recruiting violation.
Right,
separately.
recruiting violation, which we all know that happens.
That happens all the time. But this is completely different. If you're got people going to the sidelines and getting the signs because it's easy, it's human. It's humans that created this, so somebody can crack that code and know what plays are coming, and that is a humongous outcome on games, especially close playoff games like against TCU last year. Obviously, they got beat 100%, but if those details are coming out to be true with some facts and evidence, Aiden Hutchinson, from the Lions, there's a video out there. He didn't even know who this guy was. He said he was a guy who stood up in the press box or whatever during the games. He didn't even really have a relationship with them. And then there's videos of him on the Michigan sidelines feeding information to the head OC or head DC.
Well, yeah, dude. Then there's the picture.
That's weird to me. That's weird.
There's
a guy on the sidelines next to your defensive coordinator, and Aiden Hutchinson's been there for how many years, and this guy's been there for how many years, you're going to know who the heck that guy is.
Well,
come on.
Dude, Hutchinson took a picture with him. There's a picture of Hutchinson with the guy. Like, it's in the locker room.
Yeah,
like, here's my thing, dude. At the end of the day, people aren't going to come out and speak about it because they got caught. And at the end of the day, when you get caught with something, that's when, one, the truth definitely at some point does come out. But at the second point, understanding that a lot of people are going to do everything they can to cover their own ass. They're going to do everything they can to act like they have no clue who this guy is, to try to find a way to spin the narrative onto someone
but they're
else.
not going to spin the narrative to make it look worse for their program, bro.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
So that's what you're saying, though, because he just said that he didn't know that guy. So why would he spin it to not know the guy? That makes it look even worse if he's spinning it to lie about it then.
I mean, there's a way to spin it to the fact that, like, you just took a picture with a random guy. Like,
on that aspect, but I'm saying, like, the video today when you don't even know the person and then he's on the sideline.
And I'm sure there was players that had no idea who the guy is. But I will say I'm sure there's people on the coaching staff that know exactly who that guy is. They're not going to claim him. They're not going to act like they have a clue.
Obviously.
But I will call cap on them getting suspended from a bowl game, suspended from the playoffs. I think they're going to be like, I don't think that's going to take action. I don't think that will happen. But one thing I would not be shocked about is because in the midst of all this, Harbaugh was about to sign a massive extension, right?
That's what I was going to say.
He was about to get his
He's
bread.
out.
I got a good feeling Harbaugh ain't going to be there next year.
NFL.
Harbaugh might be back to the NFL, and that's something to keep an eye on.
He doesn't have to deal with this recruiting stuff anymore.
It's just, I mean, lately there's been a lot, even prior to the season. What was that the recruiting stuff that was going on?
He got suspended 4 games.
So there's some stuff going on in Michigan, shady, and it's just starting to come to light too. Like, we don't know where this is headed, what could possibly be the end result of it. But I will say I don't think Michigan will lose their right to compete in the playoffs, have a bowl game. But I do think Harbaugh will be back in the NFL next year.
Boom. All right, I got this one for Buddhas to start off. Factor cap, specifically Montez Sweat, will sign an extension. Not that the Bears want him to or that Ryan Poles will get this done, but that Montez Sweat himself will be a Bear next year. Factor cap.
I think that's fact. I mean, dude, that's the one piece that we're like missing on defense is we have no line.
You're missing everything.
We're missing everything, but we got a decent linebacker.
You got
decent linebackers.
In the words of Jerry Jones, you got a war daddy. You got a war daddy. You got a DN that's going to get the damn quarterback is what you got.
Exactly.
A dog.
And I think I think it was a very smart move on the Bears. I actually really like Poles.
Okay.
I hope that he can draft this year, especially. I think this is a super important year for the Bears draft wise because
Hmm.
not only do we have quite a few picks, but we also have a lot of capital to
Yeah.
spend.
Yeah.
And so I like the move. I think he's a stud. And the thing with Chase Young too, with the injuries like we talked about. I mean, if Chase Young had no injuries, I would say the Bears should have grabbed him.
And they would have.
But we can't gamble. Like I mean, injuries is something that can obviously you can't predict that. But like us drafting Tevin Jenkins, our lineman, knowing he had back issues, knowing he was gonna have back surgery, and drafting him and not really being able to start or play a full season since I mean, this is his first year and he was out most of I mean, he's dealt with his back injury since we've drafted him. So I just think in the Bears' mind, they have to avoid any little mistake. And if someone has prior injury, I mean, that is something that you have to take into consideration. So I
Yeah.
think it was smart and I think it was a great move for the Bears.
Yeah. I mean, I think fact because there's no way in hell will Ryan Poles have a job in the National Football League, period, point blank, as a GM ever again if Montez Sweat does not sign an
I mean, it already
extension.
kind of happened with Claypool, but
I
not
mean,
the
yeah,
exact same. But
Claypool, but at the end of the day, I
Joey
mean,
Porter Jr.
I
That's
think
who
you
the
kind
pick
of
turned into.
yeah, but I think we all kind of had a sense of what I mean, giving up a 2 originally. Back way back then when that happened, I didn't have an issue with it, but I think we've all kind of understood like who Claypool was as a receiver. I don't think we ever necessarily thought he was going to get much better than what we saw in Pittsburgh. I mean,
He's an ND guy. I thought he would.
yeah, I mean you did because you got the bias with it, but I ultimately I think this trade for a guy like Montez Sweat. I mean, one, he's not a skilled player. He's not a receiver who has to necessarily fit in a perfect system to be good. Um, I think a guy like Montez Sweat is going to be an absolute dog for the Bears. And the only thing that's kind of like a head scratcher to me, I guess, is and it's a fair point that a lot of people have brought up. It's like, why trade for him now and give up a 2 when you're in a losing season and going nowhere this year, when he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season and could have simply just paid him and
Makes no
still had your
sense.
second round pick.
Uh-huh.
That's where it's a head scratcher to me.
Makes no sense.
And it would be even more of a head scratcher if you lost him to free agency. Because then that's a
Yeah,
double. Like
it's
that's like
literally was going to be my talking points there. Like that's why I think I'm thinking the move's good in my opinion with the talent and the evaluation of Montez Sweat and all that, but
yeah,
I just think
100%.
it's cap because of all the Poles history. Because I am not a fan. Early on, I liked Ryan Poles on some of the stuff he did. It's just the second round pick, like Bryce is saying. What are you doing? You got 2 wins right now. You're giving up this additional draft pick when you could be having additional draft compensation. And then ultimately, like Bryce said, if you want to extend him and we're going to do that with the trade and all this situation, just pay the man at the end of the year, like that big a deal. And with the prior history, like DJ Moore is a talented wide receiver, but down the field threat more so with Justin Fields and some of his that doesn't fit his play style abilities, in my opinion, instead of somebody that can get more open in the intermediate range, a bigger body that can have more receptions a game for Fields so he can get the ball out of his hand quicker. I think that's a whole nother bad decision with Ryan Poles and that evaluation of just of bringing DJ Moore to Chicago. I like the moves and the activity of trying new things, sparking some interest, getting some stuff for the fan base, the city, all that involved. It's just some of it right now. I just feel like he's trying to make a move when there maybe not a move that needs to be done at this time.
Well, I
That's why.
think too with Poles, bro, is a lot of people forget he kind of inherited. I mean, it's
He
hard to
did.
turn around a
But
team
that's
in
why I'm
that
saying hold the
amount.
draft pick right now. There's no
Yeah,
reason
you
to get rid of it and Trace
keep your
Sweat.
capital and build your team. Keep your
Yeah.
capital and build your team.
And still pay him and still go paid in the offseason.
And
I
let's
just don't agree with the capital moves of the pure business side
yeah,
of the
yeah,
Bears.
yeah. And let's talk about where that second round pick is going to be. That second round pick is going to be very early in the 30s. Like
Hi.
it's a back end first round. Like you talk
That's a
about
stud, bro.
it is. You talk about the first round, like there's I mean, realistically when
And
you
you're
see
talking
some,
that plus Sweat if you pay the money. Like
yeah,
it's
but
best of both worlds.
so you see a lot of NFL scouts, like I read a ton of draft work before the draft itself. And there's realistically, like this past draft, a lot of scouts had like 13 to 14 first round grades, and then the rest are twos, and you get into your threes.
Then it's that second.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's that bulk. It's those guys that are
Yep.
your possible starters, guys that could blossom
Fantasy
into
football
superstars.
people know it. You know how the
Yes,
drafts are.
and it's one of those things where it's like that's. I mean, you're gonna get someone who slips in that range that you could have. I mean, you could have turned your whole team around.
It's nothing against addition of Sweat because it's great for the
No, it's
team, but
you
it
could have
takes
had
away.
Sweat and that,
Or somebody else, even another, edge rusher, or somebody else, another playmaker on the defense. Because I agree they need help. They need playmakers. But right now, if something happens and there's an injury, the trade value goes down, you sign him, so then you wasted money if he goes down early. Like, obviously, it's all what-if game, but I feel like you can prolong the what-if game if you're sitting with 2 wins trying to have high draft picks. That's just my opinion.
I'm more interested. I'm more interested to see which is what I think they're messing up even more is the Jalen Johnson situation. Like he is a 24-year-old corner.
Homegrown.
Excuse me if I'm a year or two off. I'm pretty sure he's 24 years old, and has been their best corner and has arguably went on the field. I know he had a little bit of an injury,
Consistent.
but when he's on the field, I mean, he's like a top 13, top 14 corner in the National Football League at 24 years old. And I get it. He's going to command a lot of money. I will say, though.
PTSD from Kyle Fuller, probably. Huh?
Yeah,
Well,
but
I mean, yeah.
I do think that.
I would disagree in that aspect. I think we need, like, look what we did with Roquan. We didn't want to pay. The Bears are cheap, bro. If you haven't noticed, Roquan is arguably top 5 quarterback or
Roquan
linebacker.
got a lot of money though, man.
Yeah, and that's another
he
thing.
did
They
get a
wanna
lot of
pay him.
money, but
Yeah.
like we lose players all the time, and we sign like we sign Mac to all this money, right? But we can't sign a young linebacker.
But then you're trying to outsource mid-season when it's not going good. Like that doesn't make sense.
Same thing with Montgomery, bro. We didn't want to pay Montgomery, and then he goes and takes some like. He
I
doesn't
wouldn't
even
have paid
get a
Montgomery.
bag.
I wouldn't have
Why?
paid Montgomery. I mean, it's a whole different situation when it comes to running backs. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
but
David Montgomery hasn't been on the field for you guys.
yeah, but there's not a
for full
consistent running
season.
back now in the backfield for the Bears.
No, there's
Like,
not. But there's not a consistent piece in the Bears. Period. Like, there's not a consistent.
But you got to
player
start
on that
somewhere. Is
football
what
team
Budins
right
is
now.
trying to stay and retaining
That's what I'm
people.
saying.
That
I
are
agree.
Bears.
So do you think
We can't just keep drafting people and
Yeah.
then trade them, and then we don't build anything. I mean,
Yeah, but you're right. He
we-
did inherit he inherited an old regiment. So like,
right.
that's my
Foles-
question.
Poles did not draft Fields.
No, my question to you,
So
Budins,
how
is,
do you know that Poles is not like, okay, we're bringing these guys in knowing that Fields is not going to be our guy.
Yeah, you never know. We don't know. He might say cut the ties with Fields at the end of the season, off season.
So-
because he
Two
didn't
things.
depending on their
draft him.
draft pick.
two things, Budins.
It's fair.
I want to ask you something, and then I want to tell you something and get your reaction. So my first thing is, what type of GM at this rate? We've seen polls, we've seen him in action. What type of GM do you think he is? Is he a wheel and deal guy, a guy that's going to go out and just make trades, and it's what we've seen, yes, or is he going to be the draft guy? Because I know that's one thing I always applaud the Cowboys for is they know how to freaking draft. They nail the draft typically. Outside of our second round guys, sometimes they're a little shaky. We find mid-round gems, and we always, besides Taco Charlton, hit the first-round pick. Every single year, I can rely on that. So is Ryan Poles a draft guy? And is he going to rebuild your team that way? Or is he a wheel and deal guy, which could get you into some trouble and end up having you spend some money, too much money?
I think he's a draft guy. I
Okay.
really do.
He wants
And I
his.
think
You say he wants his own. He wants his team.
Yes. Yeah, he wants his team. And, that is a fair point that the Cowboys, and I think the best draft, the team that's been the most consistent in the draft in my eyes is Pittsburgh.
I think the Ravens too. The Ravens know how to
too.
draft.
Pittsburgh, bro, they know how to draft. Look at the talent that Pittsburgh gets. With Tomlin, they hadn't had like an 8-8
Dogs.
season.
They always pick at the back end too. Like it's never
They
like
always know how to pick, and it's not just first and second round. So I think Poles is going to be a draft guy. I was a little critical of this draft, but now looking at it, I think it makes sense that you went and got an offensive lineman. Like that's not a sexy pick. Like you get offensive lineman, no one's like, oh my God, we got, it's not like when you get a stud receiver, quarterback.
Yeah.
We had Jalen Carter there. We could have took him. And I think he's looking because he was an offensive lineman. And I think we need someone that knows that you have to start in the offensive line on both sides and bill your way out. Because if you can't block, bro, I don't care who you have back there.
Yeah.
So I think looking at it, we don't have a big enough sample size yet. I don't think. I mean, the guy's young. This is only what his second year.
Yeah. When you said it, I kind of forgot. Like he really didn't draft Fields.
No,
Is that
Bro,
fat,
Fields
Gannon?
is in. Yeah, no, that's
Who
cool.
was the GM for that?
It was,
Ryan Pace.
yeah, it was
Pace.
So
Okay.
about 8 months later, Pace was relieved.
Yeah,
And
for you got a good point on that. That he might be stocking with these picks here to get his QB.
He might be. He
because I
might
mean, it
be.
makes sense in what
And
I
that
mean. I
maybe
get what your
fits
guys are
DJ Moore
saying
with Caleb Williams a little bit better.
So
You know what I mean?
that's my point. That's my point. I
You
want
know
to
what I mean?
I want to sell this to you, Budens, and I want you do insurance, you do your selling, you give your pitches. Let me give you my pitch right here. The Bears, they head into this draft with 2 top 5 picks, right? Both of them, they don't go quarterback. Justin Fields is your guy next year, right? You draft Marvin Harrison. You draft the best offensive tackle available. And from that point on, you have a flurry of moves where you add a couple defensive starters. You trickle in, maybe adding a wide receiver 2 to go next to DJ Moore, possibly trade out Mooney, bring in a young guy through the draft. Komet's still there. The line's looking better. You've drafted a few guys the last few years. So your offensive line is in rebuild mode, but there's guys there. Defense, Sweat. You've added a couple DBs. You've added a linebacker, blah, blah, blah. So those all happen through free agency. You keep Fields. You draft Marvin Harrison, and you draft the best tackle available. How do you feel about that team? And Matt Eberflus is your head coach heading into the season next year.
I still don't think Fields is the guy.
Yeah, you lost him at that first point.
I know he doesn't. I know he
there.
doesn't think so, but
I mean,
I'm just saying,
I would love for
if it
his
gets you a
style.
Marvin Harrison and it gets you guys to build around Fields, you're gonna probably see a different Fields, man.
I mean, we could still get Marvin Harrison.
I mean, you could, but then you're taking a quarterback and a receiver. So it's like you got to build that line through the draft, man. Like I get it. You're getting 2 bona fide superstars to pair
I just
next
don't
to
think
Moore.
Justin Fields can consistently throw the ball in the NFL at the end of the day.
I don't either. And like
like you could have Marvin Harrison and DJ Moore, and he still might not win more than 6 games. Like,
yeah.
So
I get it.
I think we need to get a quarterback. I mean, it's tough because
that's what I do.
I mean, I just think you do. And now, I mean, I think the more interesting question would be, what if Carolina doesn't get the first pick?
Yeah, what if you don't end up with Williams? What if you end up with a different quarterback? How do you feel?
You know, because realistically, Arizona could probably get the first pick.
They're gonna. What happens if you get Drake May? How do you feel about another NC guy?
I'm traumatized.
I mean, I would be too. I would be too.
Like,
pride and joy.
This also is a little bit different because we know Drake May is like number 2.
I mean,
like we reached on Fields. We reached on Mitch.
You did reach, but realistically, I don't think we know nothing about Drake May. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I mean,
there's way more than Trubisky though. Way more than Trubisky. Trubisky started 13 games in his career at UNC.
No, you're right.
You could. I mean, Jordan Love was the same. We played 7 games in college or some crazy.
But not to trade up to the 2nd overall pick.
Looking back on it, though,
no, I agree.
That's looking back on that. Like, I know you took Trubisky. He's not your guy anymore. But the way, like, you took Trubisky over the guy who's not good anymore, Deshaun Watson. So, like, did it really affect the draft?
Yeah, but at that point, you look back, Deshaun had that whole
I know you were
brain wreck.
Like you needed Deshaun Watson. Yes, I agree, but I mean, man,
that was nuts, man. That's still all right.
Let me just throw that one in there. That
factor, you're gonna boot and staying up all night.
Factor cap, is Deshaun Watson ever gonna become close to what he once was, or is he gonna continue to deteriorate and find himself out of the National Football League? Because the injury, I think they're holding him out at this point. I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely injury.
It is injury, but
Because if he's healthy, he's playing over. It's still playing over PJ Walker like that.
Yeah,
I know
he's
Walker's won games.
talent-wise, and when you pay a guy 230 million plus, like he's your
Yeah,
quarterback. He's your
it's like
quarterback.
Yeah, I
Russell
don't think
Wilson.
he's gonna be what he was.
No. And that sheer amount of time of him being off, bro, the durability of getting hit, you can never simulate being out that long of the
Yeah. No, you
NFL.
can't.
Being a quarterback who still runs the ball at his age,
Yeah.
he's not getting younger. It's the same, yeah, no, I don't see him retaining that at all.
That
Booze,
sucks,
what
man.
you got? You got a factor, Cap. Let's hear it.
I got a factor cap. The Chase Young pickup from the Niners.
Here we
Does
go.
does that increase the value of the not just the defense, but also their odds?
Cool.
I mean, we already know that they're
Mm.
a Super Bowl contender. What does that Chase Young move? I guess it's not necessarily a factor cap, but like, what's that Chase Young move look like in your opinion for the Niners?
Well, you can almost rephrase it to, does Chase Young take the 49ers over the top?
Yeah,
Does
factor cap.
does Chase Young to the 49ers send them to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And in my eyes, it pissed me off, man. It pissed me off. I'm telling you, I was so angry, but fact. And like I said, I tweeted this out this week during the deadline. And seriously, think about it though. There's a lot of teams in the National Football League when you're trying to get better. When you're trying to get better, they attack their weaknesses. You try to find ways to improve your weakest spots. Your weakest links on your team, you want to improve them. But another stance to look at it, and this is how I think the 49ers look at it, is yes, we're going to have some guys on our team that aren't as good as our superstars, and that's okay because we take our strengths and make them stronger. We take our guys where we already have, what is it? They have Armstead, right? Armstead and Bosa.
Yeah.
And then their linebackers, Warner, and what's the other guys?
Best linebacker in the league.
What's the other linebacker? They got a dog.
Oh, Greenlaw. He's hurt, though.
Greenlaw. So they
He's
take
hurt.
their stronger guys and make them stronger. Nick Bosa, Chase Young for a freaking third-round pick. I get it. They're going to talk about the injury history. You're going to try to find every excuse in the book to make this sound justifiable.
McCaffrey was an injury issue too.
That's the only reason why I'm saying cap, because I don't see this playing out healthy for them to sail the ship all the way through this postseason with Brock Purdy. Because if there's anything that is hurt or not perfect on that offense, they're beatable any single week. 100%.
Yeah, but you know why though, bro? And this is why McCaffrey, for the majority of his time in San Francisco, has been healthy, is because he's been utilized to a stance.
Yeah, but you can make the argument that Debo being out's been bigger impact to that offense than even McCaffrey.
I agree, but here's the thing. The thing. When you make your strong position stronger, it allows those guys. It allows you to filter them in and out to a point where there's not as much wear and tear. So like McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, but that really takes down then the playing and the performance of Brock Purdy and turns him into an average Joe Schmo at the end of the day.
I get it.
From him.
But all
now,
I'm saying,
those guys are healthy, and you have those people on offense along with the defense. Yeah. When you have to game plan, you can't chip block Bosa. You can't throw an extra guy there because then you're going to have every one-on-one matchup with Chase Young if he's healthy. That's a cheat code right there, man. That's a legit cheat code. But it's a big if. Chase Young's never played how many games in one season? Like you brought that up earlier. That's what I'm saying, cap, because I'm just being realistic here at the situation with everything playing out. It's a game of football, and right now it's what was the stat I saw? It's like 70% of teams who favored to win or whatever's lost, or like whatever the stat. It was a random stat. It's the most diverse we've had it in the sheer landscape of the NFL. So that and the injuries, I'm just saying cap, but 100% it could be a fact.
Yeah, I think it's fact. I just think he's too much of a.
Yeah.
I mean, McCaffrey. That was a knock on McCaffrey too. Was that he couldn't stay healthy.
No. I'm not even talking McCaffrey though. It's
I'm saying injury wise. He's the best in the league. I mean, that's not even a question. So, and McCaffrey hasn't played he's been hurt so many times when he was with Carolina. And I understand the thing with Chase Young too. But, the Bears could have looked at it as okay. And I guess I shouldn't say the Bears because their risk is a little bit different than the Niners risk. I feel like the Niners could take some risk a little bit more with their
Yeah, with
defense
that
because
pick
it's
pretty much being a fourth rounder, they're giving up.
yeah, and us we're in a total rebuild, and for us to make mistakes, it's a lot more detrimental, I think, because even without Chase Young, they still have one of the best
Yeah.
defenses in the league. But I definitely think having Chase Young and Bosa is going to be absolutely filthy.
So tell me this. Could you imagine a world where Steve Wilkes, the D coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers, draws up a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 blitz with Eric Armstead, Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, and Greenlaw coming at you? That's reality now. It's reality, and it's scary. And that's what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. When it comes to playing a contender, a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who realistically right now
They
I'd
just all
say
won't be on the field together come that point. That's just the reality of it. Greenlaw might
there's a
not even be healthy.
there's a
A
possibility,
possibility,
100%.
but that's,
You take the
I
chance.
think
hasn't happened.
I think
Just hasn't happened.
Super Bowl contenders, playoff contenders, teams that have that window go all in to get over the top. And that's what the Niners did. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Honestly, you didn't give up much to get him.
And I
Yeah.
think the more interesting, I don't think that people have talked about it, is like what happens with Washington now. I mean, Washington's been not they haven't been terrible.
No, they
I
haven't, and they
mean,
didn't get anything. Like they
and
really
like
didn't get
Sam
much.
Howell, I really like him.
He showed
Like
me a lot. Yeah.
he's played well. I mean, I know they lost to Philly, but like they had that game. I mean,
Yeah.
now what is Washington? Washington's like their defense is like non-existent now. So like that's kind of interesting too to come from the Washington perspective. Like you just gave up I mean, two stud defensive enders for pretty much nothing. I mean, a second and a third round pick. Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of interesting to see now what they're gonna do.
I
Because
got
like,
an I got
go
another
ahead.
point that I want to bring up to you guys because it's all relevant with this Chase Young deal, with the Montez Sweat deal. I'm trying to confirm what he went for. But the Leonard Williams trade from the
Mm,
Giants to the Seahawks,
mm-hmm.
this is a whole nother point as far as it goes with the general manager situations. As far as Ryan Poles, I can't name him off the top of my head as far as other GMs, but thinking about that, Leonard Williams, I think he went for, was it a 2 and a 5 or a 3 and a 5?
So I think
He
it was
went,
Oh, he's a
three.
stud.
so it was a
I think
three
it
and a
was three.
3 and a 5. I know they got a 5, 3 and a 5,
Yeah,
two
it
and a
was a
five.
three.
So think about that. That value right there, the value you just got, is already more than what you got for Chase Young. And it's Leonard Williams. I know he's a damn good player. But GMs, I feel like, still need to find a way. And yes, that Chase Young deal kind of happened near the back end of the deadline, so it was probably rushed a little bit. They probably had talked all day to multiple teams. But I don't know, man. I feel like if you're the Commanders, you got to find a way to really just go. Those are your cornerstone players, like Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. Is it Jonathan Allen?
Yeah.
They have Allen. The
They
Allen.
had 3 first-round picks on that line, and
They were
yeah.
dogs. They were a
Mm-hmm.
nightmare for teams. When you thought of Washington, that's what you had to prepare for. And your
I
cornerstone
saw
guys are
one. I
gone.
thought they were getting rid of one, but not two. That was the weird. That was the weird thing.
I really thought it'd be like Sweat and Allen. I really thought they'd keep. I knew, like we talked about this last episode. I figured for the Bears it would be Sweat because I didn't think you'd have to give up as much. And little do we know, frickin' Young goes for less. He goes for a bag of chips and a penny. Like realistically, I don't know, man. I just don't know what Washington was necessarily thinking. I mean, okay, in a sense, in a perfect world, I do
You weren't gonna
because
pay all of them. You weren't gonna pay all.
so if they,
But
but
that's why I
my
thought
thing.
Chase was the easy one to get. I thought Chase was gonna be gone all along. I thought
Maybe
they'd
no,
keep
maybe you're
Sweat.
right. Maybe you're right because in
Maybe they're
reality,
trying to sabotage it because they're getting. Did they get a new owner yet?
Yeah, they did. This is the new guy who
yeah,
did it all.
Is it
yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
Because I know, was it Dan Snyder?
yeah. You saw that.
Yeah, and like with Bezos, I know Bezos was in. I think Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey was in the race for it too. But
Did you guys see it though? I'm pretty sure the GM of Washington is the GM, or not the GM. The new ownership group is also the ownership group of the Sixers, right?
Yes. And it's with
So
James Harden just
yeah,
shipping
so
them out.
they got rid of James Harden, they got rid of Montez Sweat, and they got rid of Chase Young. 3 cornerstone players within that.
Yeah, no, James Harden, that's a different discussion.
It
That boy
is. He
don't
was
play.
gone. He was probably
He don't
gone
play.
regardless.
That's a
Yeah.
different. That's way different.
No, I get that, but just think about it, man. And there was another thing within that discussion was so this owner hired on this analytics guy, this data guy, this guy that helps him kind of find a way to carve out and build a correct team, build a team that is successful. And there was a reporter saying that it's got his hands all over it, the type of moves that were just made and finding a way to get draft capital. And in reality, I guess at the end of the day, the only way to justify these trades, I think the Sweat one was a win probably for Washington. I think we could say getting a 2 for Sweat, I think is solid. But
The
as far
rental, yeah,
as yeah, no,
2 for a
100%,
rental.
100%, and the young going for a third, regardless. I guess the only thing I can say to justify it is if you're a general manager, you're an ownership group, and you're sending Chase Young away, and you get a 3rd-round pick, but you knew you weren't going to sign him back at the end of the year. You weren't going to get anything if you let him go. So you got a 3rd-round pick. And if that's the best deal that was on the table, that was the best deal. So I guess at the end of the day, for Washington, they want to start over. They want to start
I
over.
got one last thing before we wrap it up.
Yeah, let's
And
hear it.
it's just a little mid-season thing that I want to ask you guys. I know what I would say. I'll say after you guys, but just based off what we've seen now, just this is kind of strictly just for conversation, but who do you think's in the Super Bowl if it started today?
Huh. Bryce?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think my team my team from the NFC is probably Philly. I think right now, like I just went on a whole rampage talking about how the 49ers just made a move to go over the top, but the last few weeks, regardless, I still haven't seen enough from Brock Purdy, and I know he had the concussion and then probably got another concussion last week and is banged up. Like Gannon mentioned, Debo being out, McCaffrey's been hurt but playing. Like there's a lot of issues with the 49ers right now. Whereas I think Philly is just starting to pick up steam offensively, and that's the one area that I think we kind of we're noticing they kind of had a drop off from last season was offensively starting the year kind of stagnant. But I really think it's crazy to say, in older Julio Jones, I really think it benefits guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith because he's still a major red zone threat. So when Hurts and Swift and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown get you down into the red zone, you got to game plan a little bit differently for guys like Dallas Goedert, guys like Julio Jones. And then the tush push as well, which they added a whole different element. Having Swift come off the edge is kind of cool. But Philly from the NFC, if it was today, right now. And then AFC, I think I would say the problem is there's not been that many consistent teams across the NFL this year.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why it's way too early. You just throw something out.
Miami. I'll say Miami.
Good pick.
Miami, Philly, Super Bowl, and when it goes to Miami, I just think it's so tough to game plan against them. Their offense has so many different moving parts. They're always guys that are in space. It's so eerily similar to what Shanahan's got and just McDaniel, coaching tree, McVay, all of them being intertwined. Pre-snap motion, just the stuff that they're capable of. Shoot, I save their plays like every week. On Twitter, I get them, and I'll save them and look at just like the counter plays that they run. The moving parts are flow this way, flow that way, motion this way. We're gonna send him there. We got like they love like post wheel concepts, like that's that type of stuff, man. It's so freaking fascinating, and yeah, Philly, Miami.
What do you say, Ruckman?
I'll keep it a little shorter. I'll agree with Bryce 100% on Philly out of the NFC. Just going off pure quarterback play, Jalen Hurts is leaps and bounds better than Brock Purdy. I think San Fran has to have everything more perfect in their scenario, go their way for them to win the NFC over the Eagles because they've already looked bad half, still blow out other teams. I just think the Eagles are more reliable, and they've been there, consistent. They've had the hunger. They got a strong O-line. That line stays healthy. It can feel you right to the Super Bowl as it did a year ago for him. And I was hauling behind the Dolphins, and then my other pick with this situation, I'm glad Bryce went with the Dolphins because I went with the Ravens on the flip side here as my other pick out of the AFC.
Boom.
Now, Bryce and I have talked about this before. I think before our preseason, when we did our initial one way back, we were high on Baltimore then. There were little rough patches earlier on. Lamar was scaring me a little bit with some of the turnovers. They're starting to turn a corner, and that defense is underrated, and nobody talks about them as much as I think they should be talked about on that side of the ball. I just think playoff-wise and quarterback-wise, I'm leaning Lamar over Tua right now just off the experience and the athleticism and some type of stuff when you know you can run the ball and get your yards at the end of the day. Because if there's some defensive stuff that can help with Tua and kind of, shift with the Dolphins a little bit, you can game plan better, in my opinion, against the Dolphins at the end of the day with stopping some of the offense. Obviously, you can't game plan Tyreek Hill. I shouldn't say that you can game plan for the Dolphins because he's a cheat code at the end of the day. But I think the Ravens and Eagles right now, I just like what's going on in Baltimore, and the Harbaughs just win. It's
a great take.
It's culture.
Ravens are tough.
So
Boone's is gonna throw the Chiefs in the AFC. We'll get.
But
that
I
out
just
of the
didn't
way.
go Chiefs here. Hear me out real quick. I just did Chiefs. That inconsistency is scaring me right now with their wide receiver play right now. Mahomes does not trust these people. The ball placement's been all over the place. He's only on the same page with Kelsey. Now that might change. Give it a month or two, we're probably gonna see the Chiefs right back into this. But they're not on the same page right now, and it's showing. That was bad last week. Bad in Denver.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my team. So I got a. It's tough. NFC, I got Niners. I really do. I think last year they should have been in the Super Bowl. If they went through three quarterbacks in the postseason.
That game.
So I think I got the Niners. The runner-up in the NFC is the sleeper, Seattle. Seattle is tough.
Okay.
I really do. I think
I like it.
I like Kenneth Walker a lot. And you gotta think they have three stud receivers. They have Metcalf, they still have Lockett, and they have Smith-Njigba.
Who's playing a lot better.
And he's playing, and then adding, like you said, what's his face from New York? I mean, that's huge for them too. But that's kind of a sleeper. So I got the Niners. Leonard Williams. I got the Niners, and then I have Buffalo, baby. I think Buffalo, if this is the year
I knew that
for Buffalo to get in, it's this year because you don't have this overpowered Kansas City team or this overpowered Cincinnati team.
No. They're getting hot. They're getting
hot.
They're a sleeper too. I was liking them.
They're coming back, man. They're coming back.
But I think Buffalo will get over the hump this year. This is the year Buffalo gets over. I think they're better than Baltimore. I just think their offense, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear
It's just something about their offense where I'm like, I don't know if this can work.
They could work a lot better if they had a running back outside of Gus Edwards.
Right. And now, I mean, this isn't huge, but you know who the Buffalo just signed?
Yeah.
At running back?
Oh, back?
Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette.
Playoff Lenny. Lenny.
We know how that goes. And having him and James Cook and Diggs and Davis and Kincaid.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Shakur is your third wide receiver. He'll catch some balls down the field for you.
And I'm a big Josh Allen fan, and I really think he can get over. I mean, he's a stud, an absolute
louder
stud.
For the people in the back.
He's a stud, and that's who I'm taking. If it was right now, I would like to see Niners versus Buffalo.
I'd like to watch that matchup.
That would be a sick or the Detroit Lions.
All right.
And that is where we end the episode. I appreciate you all tapping in. Another one, NFL edition, fact or cap, a little bit of college football mixed into this one. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we will catch you next time.